April 1st, 1940 was not a day for fools. World War II was very much in stride, and as in many times of war, great tragedies were occurring through much of the world. However, in a small village in Kenya, a baby girl was born. Her name was Wangari Maathai, and she would be raised in the shadow of Mount Kenya. As Wangari grew, she loved working and playing in the fields, feeling the soil between her fingers and the rain on her cheeks. As you might imagine, it could get quite hot in Kenya, but Wangari's home was surrounded by a cooling canopy of beautiful trees. She loved hanging out beneath them as they tempered even the hottest days of an African summer. Wangari was gifted with a keen intelligence and hungered for knowledge the way that a tree reaches deeply for water. She became a star student, and in spite of the blatant gender bias of the day, she won a scholarship that took her to college in the United States and later to post-war Germany. After many years of study in the biological sciences, Wangari became the first woman from East and Central Africa to get a PhD. In 1966, she went back to Nairobi to continue her work. But on returning, she was heartbroken to see what had happened to her beautiful country in her absence. Extreme strip logging had taken place in Kenya and had left much of the luscious land barren, cracked, and dry. The tree canopies were mostly gone. Wangari didn't grieve long, but instead she decided to take action. She immediately began planting tree seedlings. She started with just 9 in her own backyard. But realizing quickly that much more needed to be done and she couldn't possibly do it on her own, she began convincing her neighbors to do the same. And after they did so, she persuaded other women in the other towns to also plant tree seedlings. And women began planting trees all over, and with that, the Green Belt movement was born. Word spread quickly of communities reviving their land and improving their air quality, and more people joined in. Wangari was even thrown in jail for a short period because of obstructing some tree felling. But soon, more than 600 community groups throughout Kenya had planted over 4,000 tree nurseries. And over time, the communities planted 40 million trees throughout Kenya to help heal the land and rebuild Kenya's ecosystems. This Greenbelt movement was so impactful that it started spreading all over the world. And it ended up with people planting 7 billion trees across the world, one for every person on the earth. Isn't that an amazing achievement? In 2004, Wangari Maathai received a surprise call from the Norwegian ambassador informing her that she was being awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for her contribution to sustainable development, democracy, and peace. But most importantly, her intention to heal the land, which had begun on a small scale in her backyard, grew and spread to become a powerful communal intention that has reforested vast areas of the world. As Marge Piercy said in the poem that we heard earlier, it goes one at a time. It starts when you care to act. It starts when you do it again, after they say no. It starts when you say we, and know who you mean. And each day you mean one more. Similarly, in our story earlier, a bus called Heaven, a little girl's powerful intention ensured the bus would continue to be available for everyone to enjoy. Her efforts helped save the bus, their community center for that group. Now, these stories of powerful intentions creating sustainable futures reminded me of this fellowship. How CVUUF began with just a few families gathering to give their children a liberal religious education. And how it's grown thanks to many of you continuing to meet and committing to a visionary future for this fellowship. And then in 2008, after wandering from temporary place to place every Sunday, holding church in a box, as it's sometimes called, your collective intention to have a steady home bore through. The intention for this community to thrive was so strong that you were able to raise the funds to buy these buildings. And now, look at what you've achieved. This year we celebrate your intention made manifest. It's the 10-year anniversary of CVUUF's home ownership. And these have been 10 years of growth, of deepening connection, of joy that were made possible because you all created this home base for us all to enjoy. Now, I'm aware that some of the time in the background, as Jason spoke about, there's been some stress and worry about the mortgage and rent, and that's natural. But just like Wangari and the little girl in the bus, we also know that Unitarian Universalists don't like inaction. Am I right? Amen. We see a problem that needs our attention and we get to work. So in true CVUUF style, we're going to get active and solve this problem. Jason spoke about a solution that has worked many times for a congregation like ours, and that is to launch the capital campaign to buy the fellowship hall next door, outright. Now, we're not approaching this without a lot of study and time spent in consideration. As many of you know, a financial sustainability task force has been meeting for about a year now. And its primary purpose has been to determine our options for being financially viable in the future. We considered many possibilities, but the capital campaign emerged as by far the best shot at success. Doing nothing, my friends, is not an option if we want to survive into the future. And it's also not part of the bold history and vision of this fellowship that has been demonstrated again and again. You courageously chose to form this community 57 years ago, and it grew steadfastly. 18 years ago, you expanded your vision by calling your first settled minister. And then 10 years ago, you realized that you couldn't be where you wanted to be without a home. And I believe this year, 2018, is the year we choose to guarantee that home for this fellowship and become financially sustainable. It's the year that the intentions of a small group of people 57 years ago finally become solidified and allow us to flourish without financial fear or anxiety. This is the year we take a profound and beautiful step to guaranteeing the future of CVUUF for generations to come. And you saw how many amazing children we have amidst us. And it keeps growing week by week. New families are joining us. We want to secure this place for their future. Now, we're all here for different reasons. Some of you are here to meet with friends and be in community. Many of you are here for spiritual nourishment, to find greater purpose and meaning in your lives. Others of you are here to raise your children in a loving group of socially conscious people. And some of you are here to live out your values through your actions and be part of a compassionate community that works to make the world a kinder, fairer place for all. And others of you here are here to be accompanied through life, through the ups and downs of life, knowing that you will be held in care and love. They're all good reasons for being here at this fellowship. My friends, the writing is on the wall. Look over there. Our mission is to nurture spiritually courageous people who transform the world through justice and compassion. And I believe we live into that every week here. That is our calling. What parts of the Conejo Valley need our help in offering equality and dignity to all? Who in our community and beyond needs extra compassion and caring? In this time where hate and bigotry is spoken so freely in our country, how many people can we help with our message of religious freedom and inclusion? How many people can we nourish with spiritually courageous programming that transform lives? And whom can we comfort and heal by being part of a compassionate and loving community? This fellowship is important. It has a vital mission. This community needs to survive. In fact, this community needs not just to survive, but it needs to thrive. We have a life-saving, life-transforming mission to share. And it's important for us to have a base in the Conejo Valley so we can serve those who are seeking, those who are lonely, those who are poor, those who are excluded, or those who are disenfranchised. As we reflect today on the power of collective intention, it becomes clear that emerging from our individual silos to find agreement on our common purpose is vital for us. Not just to survive, but to thrive. When we pay off the mortgage on Fellowship Hall, and notice I say when we pay off the mortgage on Fellowship Hall, we can focus not on mere survival, but on how we might thrive. How we can thrive as a community with our newfound freedom and make a bigger difference within and beyond our walls. Now I invite you to imagine with me. Imagine our financial concerns, the worries that have haunted us for the last 10 years are behind us. Yes, they're actually behind us. We are free. We are free to envision our future, a future free of financial constraints. This is our next chapter, my friends. Now, almost 50% of us are new here since you bought these buildings in 2008. So what do we all wish for? For some of you, knowing that we will own this fellowship free and outright as an endowment for generations to come is inspiration enough. But for others, what do you imagine will help this fellowship be even more amazing than it already is? Some of the dreams and freedoms that you all envisioned when Kay Kreider visited us in November were as follows. We said we wanted to fund a large social justice project. What if we could be a hub for people in need in the Conejo Valley? What if we were well known for providing a vital service, partnership, and advocacy that people couldn't find elsewhere? What if we were renowned for our values and leadership in the work of justice and compassion? With our financial concerns handled, we are free to focus on the vital work of healing and serving our wider community. You said you wanted to grow our religious education program. Well, what if our religious education program became well known throughout the valley such that teens wanted to hang out here as much as they could? In fact, what if we were free to hire a youth coordinator, someone who created dynamic and engaging programs for young people in this area so they could find more meaning and connection in their lives? This is such a vital ministry for youth having an increasingly stressful time in life. With our financial concerns handled, we are free to focus on supporting families and children and meeting their needs. Now, we said we wanted to enhance our music ministry. I look over at Joel. He's wonderful, but he could use more support. What if we had the ability to hire a band that could play regularly? And how about section leaders to grow and bolster the choir? And imagine if we could afford needed technology and someone who is hired to run the audiovisual system weekly, giving our wonderful volunteers who show up week in and week out a break. What if all of what we do here was broadcast on the internet in such an appealing way that hundreds, if not thousands of people all over the world could tune in and worship with us? With our financial concerns handled, we are free to enhance our music and technology and spread our joyous message all over the world. Now, you asked for increased membership and learning. What if we could hire a membership volunteer coordinator to do outreach and transform so many more lives in our area to support the wonderful work that Nancy does? What if we had the ability to give more time and support to our current members with broad-ranging, engaging adult programming? With our financial concerns handled, we are free to build our programs that nourish our heart's desire. What a hub we would be. CVUUF, a vital center for spiritual growth and transformation in the Conejo Valley, a vital center for justice, for equality and dignity for all. This, my friends, is the vision. Well, I get breathless just thinking about it, thinking about what we could do. How about you? And these are just a few ideas that you all came up with in discussion with our consultant last November. But I'd like to take some time for us now to reflect on what would fill your heart with joy if CVUUF has the financial freedom to thrive. And if you're new here today, I know we have some in our midst who are new here today, perhaps think about what lured you here today. What were you looking for? What are your most precious hopes and needs for a spiritual community? Because that is so important to us, to hear your voice. So in a moment, we're going to be passing around pens and pieces of paper. And please take some and pass the basket along. And before we write anything, I want to lead us in a brief visualization around what our intentions and dreams might be for CVUUF. After you've written your ideas down, you will exchange them with neighbors to read so you can get an idea. So please write legibly so others can read it. And then we'll collect them all and post them on our beautiful art wall, thank you Gwyn Vanoni, in Fellowship Hall, so that you can read everyone's hopes and dreams for this community. So ushers, please pass out the papers and pens to everybody now. Once you have your paper and pen, I invite you to close your eyes, and if you feel comfortable, take a few deep breaths into your belly. Get centered and peaceful. I'm going to wait until everybody has their pieces of paper and pens, but start thinking about your intentions, your hopes and dreams for this community. So I want you to imagine that you're traveling 10 years into the future in a time machine. Or perhaps you're trying out one of those new virtual reality experiences. In any case, it's 10 years from now, 2028, and you are going to CVUUF. Well, you walk through the front door, and it's thriving here. There's no talk about finances because we own our buildings outright. So what do you notice as you walk in? How do you feel? What do you hear? Clearly, CVUUF is flourishing. What do you learn about all the exciting things CVUUF is doing as a spiritual center that nourishes many? What's it like? What most impresses you and has you want to get involved right away? Now take some time and write down those ideas. Once you've finished writing down your ideas, I invite you to share them with somebody who's sitting near you. Find someone else who's finished and just exchange cards with them. If you finish writing, hold up your card so that the other people know that you've finished, and find someone to exchange it with. And then as soon as you've read that and you've finished reading that, hold it up again so that somebody else can read that card, and keep passing them around. Hold them up high, look around, there are people behind you, near you, or you've already exchanged. All right, the exchange can stop for now. As I mentioned, we're going to post them all next door. We're going to post them all next door in Fellowship Hall after the service. So I ask the ushers to please hand around the baskets now so that people can put their papers and pens back into the baskets. And then invite you to spend some time reading them. We have intention frames on our Fellowship Hall art wall. Go ahead and read them when you have a moment. If we can gather all the cards now and begin to wind down our conversations and our excitement. My friends, thank you. Thank you for sharing your ideas. Thank you for sharing your inspiration. Thank you for sharing your visions and intentions for our congregation in the future. I believe we can do this. I believe together we come together and rise up to important challenges together. And I look forward to many conversations with you over these next few months as we hopefully undertake this endeavor together. Thank you for your insights and your wisdom and your questions and your intentions. May they be so. Blessed be.